the hills be alive with the sound of Formula One this weekend, and in your local movie theater too. Why the hell not? We're taking over, dang it. You have found the Outlap F1 podcast. We're here to talk about it too. You have found, like I said before, the Outlap F1 podcast. This will be season 7, episode 21. It's our 2025 Austrian GP preview show. You've got Andy, and I'm along with Cody tonight. And we took a week off. I watched a whole lot of other motorsport. I watched MotoGP. I watched IndyCar. I think the only thing I didn't watch last weekend was the Pikes Peak Hill Climb. Sorry, Kelly. That was probably the only thing I didn't get a chance to watch. Caught up with a little bit about it later. But anyway, I've got my fill of motorsport, but now it's time for the F1. The F1 is back this weekend and in good standing. So, Cody, how's it been? And how you doing?
It's going well. It's really stinking hot and humid where we live. So, yeah, that part sucks. But other than that, I'm happy to get back to Formula One this weekend. I am excited to see the movie whenever that that opportunity comes to us. Thought about trying to pack it all in this weekend. Looks like it may not to be just yet.
It would be a logistical. It was going to be a logistical kind of nightmare. Yes, we are going to go see the F1 movie. We are going to go see it in IMAX. We're going to take it all in, and we will give you our thoughts as soon as we are able to do that. We tried to plan it out for this weekend, and there's so many moving parts. Like it's worse than trying to coordinate a recording, honestly, because this is like in the evening. So we're gonna probably do it the second weekend, or I may go watch it and then not tell anybody about it, and then watch it with you live in person later, type of thing. I don't know. Or you may go do the same thing and not tell me. But anyway, we will figure it out. We will find the time to get together. We may do one of those little, selfie pictures outside and say we're going to go in and watch the movie. We definitely want to go see it in IMAX because I think that's the way you should experience it if you are so inclined to go watch the movie. I would highly recommend IMAX. The sound from everything that I have read, and I have read a ton up on this thing, it's supposed to be pretty epic. So go watch it. It's supposed to be a pretty decent plot line too. It's not supposed to offend your racing sensibilities if you're, a nerd like I am. There's no weird upshifting and stuff like that. So they supposedly really had done it right, and it's really cool. And for me personally, as a fan who I was thinking about this, I'm like, 20 years ago, if you would have told me that Formula One would release a movie, just branded F1 movie, nothing else, completely fictionalized kind of story, but real at the same time, I'd have told you you're crazy. I'd have told you like 5 people would have come to see it, because I went to the premiere of Rush and I sat in a theater with 10 other people, and it was kind of like, oh wow. And Ron Howard put his heart and soul into that thing, and that's a great movie, and you should go watch that one too. But at the same time, it was like, wow, you realize how far this sport really has come. So it is now in the pop culture.
Here.
Yeah.
Summer blockbuster, Brad Pitt.
Yep.
Real deal.
Spinning out at Coda 2 last week. I saw a pirated video of him going up turn 1 in the 23 McLaren that he was driving. And I think he spun out right at the top of the hill there. So I'm looking at this and I'm going, it's right at the ticket gate where the camera guy was. And I'm like, oh, we stood right there. But anyway, before we get into all of the particulars and everything proper, we do have a little bit of sad news. Our friend who we go see when we go to Coda almost every time we go down there, his name is Brandon. He has been our Austinite, our local guy. Great guy, knows all the local scene, has hooked us up with all sorts of stuff. I got word about maybe an hour or so ago. His dad, who had been battling with cancer, unfortunately succumbed to that earlier tonight. So wanted to send out, I don't know that he will ever listen to our show, but it is one of those things, to our guy in Austin, Brandon. We're thinking about you. We love you. And we're sorry for your loss, man. But all right. So if you have found our show, welcome along. We're glad that you are here. You can find us always on Blue Sky, on X, on Discord, on Reddit. Not really so much on Reddit. I don't post a lot there. I know Cody goes to read there a lot. But you can always find us here on YouTube at Outlap F1 Podcast is the handle for all that. If you enjoy what you're seeing and you like what you're hearing, You can click either a like or subscribe button on YouTube. That will help us out. And if you're on your favorite podcasting app, if you want to drop a 5-star review, that will just help our show come up a little bit better in F1 related search results. And we would be most grateful if you'd like to do that. You can email the show, outlapf1@gmail.com. We'll get you directly to us. Thank you so much for Outlap F1 Nation, who continues to support us throughout this venture here. Thank you so much to Dean Warwick, Yuri Dolchester, Paul Weaver, Quentin Warden, the aforementioned Kevin Kelly, who's been great to interact with, Regan Stanzik, Timothy Brown, and of course, Jonathan Scott. If you'd like to become a member of that hashtag Outlap F1 Nation, get a shout out and all that other good stuff, we do have a donation page. You're not obligated to do it. You don't have to do it. You could just listen. We're just glad that you're paying attention to us, to be honest with you. But if you wanted to help support the show, you can. $1, $5, all that will go right back into the show. We're not keeping it for our own pockets. It keeps the recording platform up and going. It keeps the equipment up and active and updated. So we would be appreciative if you'd like to do that. Again, like I said, no obligation there. All right, so it's been a week and a half between our F1 races. I'm still trying to recover from the trauma of Canada, but that I will try my best to try to move on from there. But there's been some news going on in the F1 world, so we're going to cover some of that. First story on the docket, the Renault CEO, Luca De Meo, has decided to call it quits and apparently is getting out of the motorsport industry as a whole. So more turnover at the top for a team. I don't know that there's anybody left at the top who hasn't left in the last 6 months. Alpine, Renault, I guess, I don't know really what else to say. Cody, what's your thought on yet another departure from Alpine and Renault here?
It seems like at the top that they are really falling apart. Personally, I think that we're not very far away from the team being sold. I think that everything that Renault and therefore Alpine has been doing has been showing that they want to get rid of the team. And honestly, that might be the best thing for them to do. Right now, Formula One teams' values are at an all-time high. Their team is not doing particularly well. In fact, they're still sitting at the bottom. They didn't do real great last year, and it's still worth a lot of money. So this might be as good a time as any for them to sell it. It would be disappointing to see them, leaving the sport again. But at the same time, they're already half gone anyway. They're not doing their engine program anymore. We've already talked about how weird it's going to be for Alpine to be running a non-Renault engine. So they're already kind of half out. All of their team principals have been cycled through. CEOs have been cycled through. I think
the guy
it would
who's
be
not
really
working for them is running the team. Technically,
yes,
Flavio
exactly.
Briatore is not
Flavio
an employee.
Briatore is not technically an Alpine employee,
right,
which is weird. And he's also not technically the team principal, but he's
doing all of the stuff.
Yeah, it's a weird situation, and I think it would be for the best for them to sell it. Hopefully to someone who wants into the sport. Obviously, Cadillac's already got their in, but I'm sure there's other people, other manufacturers, even that might be interested in getting into Formula One at its peak right now, especially heading into some new regs. So I think it would be for the best for them to sell it. Whether they do that in entirety or sell, a stake in the team, we'll have to see. But I think that's the direction we're going.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. It's like I said before, it's really tough to kind of figure out what this says about where they're going to go, because obviously since Flavio's come in, he's tried to kind of whip that team best he can into shape. I don't know how well it's working, because like you said before, they're kind of at the bottom of the table looking up at teams that apparently are doing better with less resources than what they currently have. So it's a very odd situation. It's a historic mark. It's a great probably set of people that do work there. I do think anybody who dedicates to Formula One is probably all in and then some. So I would like to see that team get back to some form of respectability. It is Fernando Alonso winning 2 championships with them back in the 90s is a great memory, but unfortunately a very long memory. And it's yeah, I mean, as a McLaren fan who went through the same 20-year drought, I know what a freaking long, road to hoe that this is going to be for them. So I hope that they find the right person. Like McLaren found Zach Brown, and he ended up being the right person. If they can find the right person to lead it, there is no doubt that it can come back. It can happen. We have seen it before. Formula One is cyclical. There is hope for that team, and there's obviously a lot of good IP and stuff. There's assets there. So let's hope that the next story we talk about when it comes to Alpine and changes at the top is hopefully a positive one. So we'll see where it goes. We'll continue to follow it, and as stuff develops, we will bring it to you. One guy who's not going anywhere anytime soon is James Vowles. He is now hooked up with Williams. Not a big surprise. What I heard one commentator say was pretty much a no-brainer situation. James Vowles has gotten a long-term extension to remain the team principal at Williams. We have seen the changes start to come. They have 55 points, which, 4 years ago in 2019, they literally were putting a car together at the day 2 of testing, hoping to God it turned on. So to go again, this is another success story. It goes from there to where they are now, possibly even contending in the upper echelon of the midfield, and sometimes being a pain in the butt to some of the top 4 teams, has been Williams this year. So, and not doing it with a whole lot of development. So imagine, and they're already putting all the resources to next year. So if they could come out of the gate and really surprise some people, I think they have done as many of the good things that you can do in terms of investment in the team, get the systems updated. They're no longer doing inventory management on Excel. No offense to those who use Excel. I sometimes still do, but every now and again, you got to get a little bit better. So I assume they're into the better accounting systems all there at Williams. So anyway, thoughts on James Vowles and hooking up with Williams for the long term?
Yeah, definitely a no-brainer. We've seen how the Williams team has turned around in the last few years. Is no longer a proving ground for future Mercedes drivers. I mean, I guess maybe in a way it could be, but they are being taken more seriously. They're actually getting lots of points. They're finishing higher up in the standings. James Vowles went in there, and as you said, the team was kind of still working in the Stone Age compared to every other team on the grid. So that's been a big push from his side, is to make sure that the team gets their systems and their practices more modern, more ready to compete at the top. And we've seen it. Building better cars. They've made some big signings for drivers. They've got Carlos Sainz now, along with Alex Albon. So two, proven successful talents in Formula One. So they're on the up and up, and he's been there for it. I think, yeah, this was a no-brainer. I hope that now they continue to climb. We're going into the new regs next year. We keep talking about how it's a big time where things can change. They're probably going to be going in with the best power unit. So you never know. We might get something crazy for next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. Things could definitely be seen for Williams. And, it's if they nail these regulations and they put together a car that is not only competitive, but can be a pain in the butt, like I said, there's no reason why they can't kind of pull a 2014 and be, for a while, maybe the first or second quickest car on the grid. If they can get there. I mean, it's a long shot, but they can definitely, if they come out of the pecking order strong and they continue to want to throw development resources into that car next year, no reason why they can't stay there. So we will see. I always have said that they are a team to watch moving into this set of regulations. It's just you're watching them do a lot of the same things that the teams that are having success have done to get themselves there. And they've gone through a lot of pain to get there too. So hopefully it is better times ahead for them. And we wish James Vowles all the best from our show. One person who's not going to be doing anything came out today, actually. Carlos Sainz Sr. will not be running for the FIA presidency. He released, I think, a rather long-winded statement as to kind of why he's not. I think it's just, I don't think he's built for politics. I don't think he was ever really, it was an odd name once I heard it. I'm like, oh, that's the guy they're going to put up against MBS for FIA president? But let's see what happens. But yeah, so as of right now, there is no challenger to Mr. MBS. So interesting things afoot at the FIA yet again. Cody, a little bit disappointed that no challenge from Mr. Sainz Sr.?
Yeah, I don't really care much who it is at this point. It's no secret that Mohammed bin Sulayem is not popular in his role as FIA president. It seems like every few weeks we're talking about some other silly thing that's going on or some other potentially scandalous thing. And it's annoying. It's frustrating. It's not what we really want to talk about. We just want to get to the racing and enjoy that and not have to worry too much about the politics. And yet it seems like it's in the forefront because of him. So, yeah, I guess I am disappointed that Carlos Sainz Sr. is not running. Who knows how well he would have been cut out for it, but he's not putting up a challenge. So I really hope someone does soon, or else we might be dealing with this kind of crap for a lot longer.
No, I'm confident there's going to be somebody who steps up. A name, like if you wanted to talk about a comeback story, I'm just going to throw a name out there. I have no knowledge that this guy wants to do it or what he's doing right now. But one of the guys who got fired in the last MBS purge was an American by the name of Tim Mayer. And Tim Mayer, I've heard in interviews, ate, drank, slept, subconsciously, fully consciously racing and fairness and all of that. And Circuit of the Americas hired him to be their representative of certification to the FIA and all that other good stuff. It was one of the reasons why he got fired was because of that. But, that's a guy who's Mr., straight arrow right down the way. If he somehow put up some sort of a challenge, he'd have my vote in a second. That's a guy who I would totally support just because he's such a nerd about those types of things. Like, that's what you need in a situation like that. Nobody who's craving power, but who just wants to promote fairness and a good show. Because that's really all you need to do at the FIA is all we talk about all the time is just be consistent. Like, it really doesn't have to be that hard. If you look at something and you say, again, whether or not we all agree with it, as long as it is handled the same way, everyone will accept it. Because it's really a simple equation to me. So anyway, we'll follow this. We'll continue to do it. I know this is not Cody's favorite topic, so we'll leave it there, and we'll see what happens later on when somebody does throw their hat in the ring and who does that. Turning to some potential on-track stuff, Valtteri Bottas dropped a very cryptic Instagram reel. The ass man of Formula One didn't quite put his ass into the Cadillac, but he rubbed it, and he certainly came up to it and liked it and said a lot of nice things about it. A Cadillac SUV that was sitting in a driveway that he just happened to come across. Odd timing, especially given what's happening in the F1 world. So it does seem to be he is one of the leading candidates. He's on the short list. Would you like to see Valtteri Bottas driving for Cadillac next year on the grid in 2026, Cody? What's your thought?
Yeah, I'd be very happy to see him make a comeback. I thought he was a decent driver at Mercedes. He's just was up against Lewis Hamilton, which, it's the same thing as we're seeing all these other drivers who are up against Max Verstappen, as you're up against one of the greats. So it's going to reflect poorly on you, even if you are a very good driver. And I think that Valtteri Bottas definitely did a better job of matching up to Hamilton than pretty much any driver has against Max. So he's got the skills. He's only been out of the sport for a season, so it's not like he's that far removed. And it's kind of since he left Mercedes, he's really kind of come out as having a really fun sense of humor, which I really love and would like to see that back in the sport. Even the reel itself was really funny. It was very, very dry and being like, there's two
that.
seats.
I love it.
Yes, this exactly. Is nice. Whether it was a joke, like him kind of poking and being like, hey, like Cadillac, just so you know, I'm here, or whether it's him teasing that maybe something's going on, we'll just kind of have to see. But either way, it was funny. It did give me a laugh earlier.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, like I said before, he's definitely on the short list. They've come out and kind of said that. It seems like another driver who broke some of his silence earlier this week was also Sergio Perez. So if they wanted to go in the experienced route it's two guys sitting there that are pretty much ready to go, who have vast amounts of experience. So that may be the way to go, at least early on, for a new team, until you can kind of get settled and and then you can start your development program and bring up a young driver and try it that way. So we're going to still have to see. It is fascinating to see those seats. I love the way that he does the dry humor. I think he's it's one of those, I love it, that like, if you're not paying attention, you miss the joke type of thing. So I do hope he gets back into the sport. He was one of the better guys in the sport. It was just kind of a numbers game that he kind of got pushed out. And it probably was better. It kind of sucks that now Kick Sauber is scoring points, but he probably had a lot of the development work that Hulkenberg is now kind of taking advantage of. So, it does bode well that he can say, look, if a car is not there, he can help get it there, because he's obviously now proven that with the feedback I think he gave the Kick Sauber guys last year. So we will follow that, and we will see when Cadillac announces their driver lineup, which is going to, you'd think would happen in the next couple months. You think they would want to get their house in order, because 2026 is coming. Some other rumor mill thing, and this actually popped up on the official F1 thing. My phone went off and said Sebastian Vettel is prime candidate to take over for one Helmut Marko, as in the Helmut Marko role, which would be the advisory role, but not really an employee. And I assume then would take over all of the Red Bull young driver development program, of which there are so many very young people trying to vie for not the Red Bull second seat, it seems right now. But anyway, it's an interesting name. We'll see what comes to fruition with it. But Cody, what would your thoughts be if Sebastian Vettel were to come back into the fold, so to speak?
I think it would be great, and I think it would be a good position for him. He's, clearly not interested in being a driver anymore. He's, been, so far as I can tell, enjoying his time away from the sport. But I don't think you ever really lose that love for the sport. I think an advisory role would be just the perfect thing for him. Get to say his point. He's got a lot of experience, obviously, as a driver for a top team and a couple of top teams. So he definitely has the know-how. Definitely could do some driver scouting, and as an advisor, it would be, not a super committal role, I guess. Like, he doesn't have to be there every weekend. He can kind of do as much as he wants. I think it would be a really good role for him at this point in his life, past his driver point. He's got his family now, but still wants to love and be involved in the sport. And if Red Bull's willing to have him back, I would be all for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be a win-win move for both sides. Seb brings credibility, some honesty, and I think some loyalty to Red Bull, who kind of have the at least the reputation, at least of not treating their young drivers very nicely. I think a change.
He's definitely a lot more fun in the media than Helmut Marko.
Yeah, that's for sure. But I also think that he would. Like I said, he would bring a whole sense of credibility and be an honest broker. So he would help Red Bull's reputation with their young driver development program, and I think it would attract potential suitors to come over for a young driver development program. You'd be more interested if you were knowing you were going to be judged by a multiple world champion in Seb Vettel there. I think that would be pretty cool to have him critique your driving. Or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's the other way around. But anyway, we'll continue. Again, another story we will continue to follow, and we'll see if this becomes a thing. But it was very interesting that Seb may be coming back full circle, back into the Red Bull family in some capacity. We will have to see. All right. So our last story, something we talked about when it happened, and we kind of said we were going to have to do a lot of wait and seeing, was when Liberty Media had announced an acquisition of the MotoGP series. And we said that it was going to be subject to a lot of regulation and a lot of European scrutiny. That process is now complete, and it looks like they are now set to close. They have gotten the sign-off of the European Commission. If you have watched MotoGP coverage, just in the graphics, you can see the Liberty Media influence. The graphics are bigger, they're wider, they're a little bit easier to read on the screen. They look a lot better on a mobile device like a phone or an iPad. So it has been kind of, subtle things, nothing huge at this point. But if they come back in, we've obviously seen what the recipe was for Formula One. I don't think you'd want to do a cookie cutter and just say, do the same plan for MotoGP. I think it's a different audience. I think it's a different culture. You got to make sure that you keep their culture intact. It is very Spanish, very loyal, and very European right now, and that's fine. But they don't have a whole lot of outreach on the North American continent. They have one race here at COTA at the beginning of the year, and then they don't come back, I think, till Argentina or maybe early in the year, a couple of races early in the year, and that's it for North America. So, do they potentially get around at, let's say, Mexico? NASCAR just went there, and that was pretty successful for them. IndyCar wants to go to Mexico. That could be a big thing, especially with a guy like Pato O'Ward. So lots of possibilities. We don't know necessarily where it's going to go, but it does look like this is now going to happen, and MotoGP will now become yet another arm in the Liberty Media empire. So, Cody, what's your thought here?
Mostly good. I mean, I don't. As far as the Liberty Media empire part of it goes, I think it's a little crazy that they're getting their hands on so many different motorsports. But that said, they did do a really good job with promoting Formula One and broadening that audience. I mean, Formula One just, I've been to the race with you only 3 times so far, which is, still quite a few, I suppose. But the world of Formula One at COTA, when we're going to go this year, when we went last year, or the year before that, way different than the first time I went with you back in 2016. Yep. There are so many more people there. It's such a bigger deal. I know so many more people just around here that are interested in Formula One, like coworkers and stuff. They see my hats and they go, "Oh, you're a Formula One fan. I really like, Lewis Hamilton." I'm like, "Holy crap, like there's other fans." And there is an audience, however small it is, there is room for an audience here for MotoGP. You talk, another anecdote here. I had a coworker come by and he saw my Red Bull hat and he asked me, about Formula One, if I was a fan, and I told him, yeah, I've been down to COTA for the race several times, and he told me that he had actually just been down to COTA himself. He is apparently a very big MotoGP fan, a big motorcycle racing enthusiast, and he actually took his own motorcycle down to COTA to take it out on the track, which I was so jealous of. That would be the coolest shit. But just a random and somewhat random encounter at work, met a MotoGP fan. So they're out there. I'm sure Liberty would be the guys to take them to new markets and new places, and hopefully that is very good for the sport.
Yeah, I mean the first thing is a much better TV deal. I mean, it's a good deal that they're on Fox. They are on FS1. It is live, which is progress. There used to be you only would be able to watch it tape delayed if you didn't have the official MotoGP app, which the price was $200 for the whole year versus the F1 TV, which is $75 or what would we pay? $150 for the big package?
For the super duper version, which you don't even need that. But anyway,
you get the $70 version, and you're going to be fine. You'll get all the sessions live. They're in 1080p. You don't necessarily need the 4K unless you have the equipment to, take that. And good on you if you do. But the fact of the matter is, I think they will understand that there are opportunities for growth, and they're going to try stuff. Now, is everything going to hit? Did everything hit with Formula One? No. I saw the snickery comment that said, "Oh, well, just let's wait until we see another Vegas street race." Well, whatever your thoughts on the Vegas Formula One race, it gets heads, it gets appeal, it gets eyes looking at it. So that's the whole point. Are they going to abandon all their historic tracks? No, I don't think they are. I think there's lots of good MotoGP tracks. Aragon, the Bugatti circuit at Le Mans is actually pretty good. They do the infield at Motegi, Japan, which is actually a really fun race. But they will need to figure out kind of how to deal with outside of just their bubble, which is very loyal and very well attended. They're going to have to figure out how to expand that. So if you're a big MotoGP fan, you expect some changes. I think they're going to be slight to start. I don't think they're going to try to rip the Band-Aid off, and they're not going to do gimmicky things. They already do the whole sprint thing, and they did that before Liberty even was in the picture. So, and they do it for every race. So, you can take that kind of as you will. But anyway, it's going to be interesting to see how they treat the. Do they push more for more equality amongst manufacturers? They already have kind of not a BOP system, but they have a way of letting manufacturers who are struggling test more to try to promote some equality. So, and we've seen Yamaha come back and win races this year. We've seen Honda come back and not be the sad state of affairs that it was after Marc Marquez left. So there's good things happening in MotoGP. So we will continue to see. And like I said, the best thing is you just watch your coverage and see what you like and tell them if you don't like it, because they do want to listen to that. So, All right. Well, you should now be all caught up on your latest and greatest news in the world of F1 and other. We talk a little bit about some other motorsports there. We are going to take a quick break. We'll re-rack. We will then hop into our Grand Prix proper. The hills are alive with sound of Formula One cars. They will be racing around the Red Bull Ring in Austria. We will tell you all about that. We'll bring you our track facts. We'll preview the weather. And then we will also take our shot at what we think is going to happen this weekend with our predictions. We're kind of going with our hearts here, not necessarily our heads, which means we're going to have some differences here. But we're going to come back, find out, and see what's going to happen this weekend. We might be both very right. Could be both very wrong. But anyway, come back, and we'll get into it in just a bit. Right, welcome back on in. This is Season 7, Episode number 21 of the Outlap F1 Podcast. It's our 2025 Austrian GP preview show as the European season kicks off in earnest. You've got Andy and I'm along with Cody tonight, and we just kind of caught everybody kind of up on the latest and greatest news in the F1 and some other circles, other motorsport worlds. So now we're going to focus on the Grand Prix proper. We're going to start, as we are always apt to do, with our Pirelli track facts. They are brought to us by the good folks at Pirelli Motorsports. So, Cody, tell us about the Red Bull Ring.
All right. This weekend, the F1 Circus goes to the Red Bull Ring, located in Spielberg, Austria. The number of laps for the Grand Prix is going to be 71, and the length of the circuit is 4.318 kilometers. That's 2.683 miles, making it one of the shorter circuits on the F1 calendar. Tire selection from Pirelli is going to be the C3, C4, and C5 tire compounds, so the same ones that were used last year. And the track facts from Pirelli are about as down the middle as you can get for a circuit. We have a 2 out of 5 for traction, and then a 3 out of 5 for literally everything else: braking, lateral load, tire stress, track revolution, asphalt grip, asphalt abrasion, and downforce. All a 3 out of 5. So right down the middle for this track. The qualifying lap record has been standing for a little while now. It was set in 2020 by Valtteri Bottas with a 1 minute, 2 seconds, 0.939. And the race lap record has been holding on for just as long. That was a 1 minute, 5.619 seconds. And that was also set in 2020 by Carlos Sainz when he was still a McLaren driver. Most wins in Austria under the current configuration of the circuit is going to go to Max Verstappen with 5 wins here. He won in 2018, 19, twice in 2021 because we had the Styrian Grand Prix in addition to the Austrian Grand Prix that year, and in 2023. And then it's a 3-way tie for second place between Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton, and Valtteri Bottas. What's the circuit like, Andy?
Oh, it's only small. But the Red Bull Ring does pack a lot into definitely a short lap. The first half rewards power as the cars blast along the 3 straights separated by a pair of uphill right-handers. But then as the drivers work their way down the hill, the circuit becomes like a toboggan ride as the cars canyon through a series of quick corners, including the exhilarating Rindt right-hander named for Austria's first F1 champion. as for the weather, and this is looking pretty much down the middle, at least for qualifying. Saturday going to be mostly sunny skies, 83 degrees Fahrenheit, winds out of the north at 5 to 10, a scant 5% chance of rain. And for Sunday, mostly sunny and hot. Interesting that it's going to get hot, high of 88, winds out of the northeast again at 5 to 10. Again, a scant 5% chance of rain, so it doesn't look like we're going to see the inter or the wet tires on offer this weekend. All right. This has always got a bit of a sentimental value for me. This was the first track I ever did a race preview and a review for when I first started doing the show.
Really?
So this was always the first one, the 2020 COVID year. I put together the track facts, so whenever I hear these I go, oh, this always brings me back because I remember putting this together long time ago. But so it's always a cool track. It's just a long enough lap to make it very interesting. Each sector is very different. They have put in that new chicane, I think, on the main straight after turn one. But that really hasn't really affected F1 so much. It's in there for motorcycles, and it's in there for a good reason because if a motorcycle goes off in a certain way, it could careen back onto the track, and we almost had some really bad accidents in the MotoGP world and the World Superbike world there. So I get it, but for F1, they take it flat out, and it doesn't really affect the lap time hardly at all. All right, so what do we think is going to happen this weekend? It's our Choose Your Champion predictions game. We shall start, as we are always apt to do, with the pole sitter. This one could be wide open. With such a short lap, it brings more people into play. I expect the qualifying margins are always really small here anyway, and this season's been like exponentially small. So are we talking like thousands of a second here, Cody? But anyway, what do you think is going to happen? Who's going to take it?
I definitely think we're going to see some really tiny margins. Who knows? Maybe we'll see some ties on times again, being that it only takes, last year it took only a little over a minute and 4 seconds to make it around the track. So, not a whole lot of time to mess with. It's going to be very tight margins. I am going full fandom here this weekend. I'm going to go with Max Verstappen. I'm sure Red Bull would love to win at their home Grand Prix, whether that means that Max is going to bring something a little extra, the team's going to bring something a little extra. I hear that they are supposed to be bringing some kind of upgrade for this weekend. I don't know how significant it's going to be, but maybe they'll turn up the engines a little bit. I don't know, but I know they want it, and I know Max can deliver it.
All right. Well, I'm going to go full fanboy too. One, I think my boys are going to be back this week. I think Canada was definitely a blip just in car performance and just an overall weekend. So if that's like the Red Bull Singapore from a couple of years ago, okay, that's out of the way. We're done. Lando has to rally. And I just hope that he drives 0.999% of himself and not 102% of himself, because 102% is bad. And then will lead to crashes and bad things happening. So if he can drive at like 9.99C, almost the speed of light, but not quite there, he could take the pole position. This track is good to him. He loves it here. It's a track that suits that McLaren car, I think, really good. So I'm going to go full fanboy here. I know Oscar Piastri may end up taking it, but I'm going to go Lando Norris for the sake of the championship to strike back at least on pole position early. All right, the 2024 pole lap, as you mentioned, not a blink and you'll miss it type of situation. So watch that timing screen. It's going to be fascinating. 104.314. That's quicker than Monaco, maybe. And it's just about as long of a track. So it is a quick lap. Cody, what's your take on the lap time? Are we going to go faster, or have we peaked out? Do we think, or what do you think here?
I definitely think we're going to go faster. On average, these cars have been, ballpark about half a second over the times last year. We're using the same tires as last year as well, so we're not going to have any weird things happening with using C5 versus C6 or anything like that. However, since it is a shorter track, and therefore I think there's less time to be gained over the course of a lap, I think we're not going to quite get up to that half-second margin. So I'm going to go about 0.3 faster. I'm going with a 1 minute, 4.007 seconds.
All right, very good. I think the difference is actually going to come down to the straights. And I think these cars max out a bit more in the straights than they do necessarily in the twisty bits. And because everybody's kind of got these downforce levels where they want, I think even in the twisty bits, they're going to go around those corners pretty damn fast too. It's going to be a fascinating qualifying session. Like I said, blink and you will miss Q3. You will not want to miss it. It will be incredibly tight, I am sure. But I'm saying a 103.857, not quite to the Bottas level of 2020, but with the weather being right down the middle and the tires being similar and everybody knows how they're going to react, I think these cars are going to push it. And I think we're going to see some very, very fast lap times, especially in the second half of Q3. All right. So our race podium last year, George Russell in that crazy race, as it turned out. It was a ho-hum race until Red Bull botched a pit stop. And then Lando and Max went at each other 5-6 times and took each other out, basically, at the end of it. And that paved the way for George Russell and Oscar Piastri to come home in second place with still one of the best moves I've ever seen, passing Carlos Sainz on the outside in order to take P2. And Carlos Sainz inheriting a P3 for Ferrari there as well. All right, so what do we think is going to happen? Who's got the race win? Cody, what's your thought?
I'm still going full fan here. I don't know how many more races this year are going to go Max's way, but I'm hoping that this one does. He has been very successful in Austria over the years. I think he probably could have won last year had it not been for the botched pit stop. That is, the McLaren was also very strong last year, so I think that's going to be pretty much making up the podium. I've got Max Verstappen taking the win, and then I have the McLarens rounding out the rest of the podium. I got Lando Norris in second and Oscar Piastri in third.
Yeah, I mean, no offense to the Mercedes. I think they will be strong. I think, like I said, I think this qualifying, you could be anywhere from P1 to P5 in qualifying and have done a really good lap. It's going to be, I think, that freaking close. But at some point, you have to decide who you think is going to win. I'm going to go my heart. I'm going to go, again, for the championship here. I think Lando's got it. I think it'll be a McLaren 1-2. I've got Lando taking the win, Oscar coming in second because he's not going to have to push because he's got the championship point lead. And Max is going to be right there. They are going to be boxing each other the entirety of the race. I think it's going to be very close. And does it come down to a late move? We shall see. Austria has done that many times before. But I do think Max will be right on their tails in P3. All right. So the fastest lap and the driver of that fastest lap last year was Fernando Alonso in the clean air, managed to get a 107.694, probably after a pit stop. So Cody, who do you think is going to get the fastest lap and what's your lap time here?
I do think it's going to be one of the McLarens, and I'm leaning more toward Lando Norris just because he has done very well at this track before, was on for the win last year. So I got Lando Norris taking the fastest lap. Again, I'm doing it with a 1 minute, 7.449 seconds.
All right, very good. I've got the other McLaren driver getting the fastest lap. I think this will be Oscar Piastri trying to close the gap. I think it will be one of those situations where I think he will probably get a faster lap than his compatriot there. So I've got a 107, not quite as quick as you, 107.8. I'm going a little slower because that track temperature being up tells me it might not be quite as quick. So we will have to see if that proves to be significant or not. Sometimes that is way off. All right, so for bonus picks, I like this selection here. We've got P8, P9, and P10. This is always more tough to do than you might think now, especially with more teams in contention. I'll go first here. I'm going to say Fernando Alonso for P8. I think Aston Martin has made steady progress. We've seen Fernando score back-to-back points, and if he can keep it clean, he gets around this track pretty good. P9, I'm going to give this one to a Haas driver. Esteban Ocon, again, smoke and mirrors. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they always manage to score pretty well here. And P10, Alex Albon in the Williams, straight line, big long straights, that favors Williams. So I think they will be in contention for points as well. Cody, what's your thought here?
I don't know what it is. I feel like this might be a little bit of a rough one for Lewis Hamilton. Unfortunately, he really hasn't had the start to his Ferrari career that we were all hoping he would have. I think that's more the car than anything else. We'll just have to see what happens next year. But I do think this is going to be another rough one for him. I have Hamilton coming in 8th. I've got Isaac Hadjar coming in 9th. So continuing to impress in that RB car. And then I've got Carlos Sainz rounding out the top 10 and scoring another point for Williams.
All right, we will lock those in, and we shall see what comes out of those. All right, so our prop bet this week, sometimes their predictions come down to the prop bet. Will there be double points for Red Bull in their home race? So are you counting Racing Bulls or just the Red Bull Works team here?
No, that was just Red Bull Works team, Max Verstappen and Yuki Tsunoda.
All right, then I will definitely stick to my original prediction and say no, because I think Tsunoda's going to be the guinea pig. I think they're going to throw all sorts of fun setup at that car. He may start out on a set of hard tires, because I have a funny feeling if they're messing around with setup, it doesn't bode well for his qualifying. Yeah, so I don't think I see it in the cards. He might come home in P10 if everything goes his way. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I don't see it, at least at this point. So Cody, what's your thought here?
I really wish that Yuki Tsunoda would find some pace in that car and be in stronger contention week in, week out. But it's been so bad these last couple of weeks with him being at the back of the field and having qualifying woes. And yeah, when he puts himself in that position, he's going to be the guinea pig. They're going to try to maximize Max Verstappen as much as they can. So I do think that that's probably what's going to happen. I think we're going to see him struggle to get into Q3. And then at that point, yeah, they're just going to throw whatever setup they can at the car to test it out so that they can get Max, try to get him the win at the end. And I think that means Max is going to be the only one getting points.
All right.
So that's a no for the prop.
So that's a no. Okay. So no double points. We may be proven very wrong. This could also be one of those weird races, like if people start crashing into each other, like they can happen. This could be one of those like Yuki Tsunoda finishes fourth type of things, where he's just because he survives. But anyway,
George Russell win last year, so anything's
exactly.
possible.
Like who knows? We could have all sorts of craziness, or it could be it could be a procession. That's why we're going to watch. And where can you watch your F1? See, I'm nailing these transitions tonight. I love this. ESPN Family of Networks. These are European times. If you're not a morning person, you may want to watch on tape delay or digital recording or when one of the rebroadcasts comes on later on in the day. But if you want to watch it live and do it live with us, Friday, 7:30 a.m. Eastern, that will kick off FP1. There will be a bunch of, I think, reserve drivers driving in FP1, so don't know. You'll see a lot of F2 and potential new people driving there. That kicks off on ESPN2. FP2 kicks off 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central for us. That's on ESPN2. FP3, bright and early, 6:30 a.m. Eastern, 5:30 a.m. here. ESPN2 qualifying kicks off 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. That's on ESPN2. And then the full race will go to big ESPN channel. That will kick off at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central. Done by the time breakfast is ready at the restaurant if you want to put in an order before you go. So I do like the fact that our F1 will be nice and efficient, but certainly a lot of it this weekend. If you're into go watching the movie, you can drop spoilers to me. I don't really care. We're going to go find it. We'll find out the movie, and we'll. I've already read a whole bunch of spoilers as it kind of already is. So I don't know how it ends, but I've read the part where they say, "Don't watch if you don't want to know." I'll find out. But anyway, Cody, any final thoughts as we kick off our European season? It's going to come at us fast and furious.
Well, it's going to come at us fast and furious, and then it's not, because I'm pretty sure we've got this, and then next weekend, Great Britain, and then 3 weeks off, and then 2 races, and then 4 weeks off. So it's a little bit of a weird calendar again this year, but I do like the Austrian race a lot. More than anything, I just think it would be a beautiful place to go see a race. Like they always do the sky shots of the track, and it's a beautiful place in the country with mountains in the background. It would be a really cool one to go to just for that. Also, be a cool one to go to if you're a Red Bull fan, like me. But I'm hoping it's exciting. I'm hoping that Max is still holding on to championship contention. It does seem to be slipping away from him bit by bit, but fingers crossed still. I haven't given up. I've still got the hat.
Yeah, we'll know what Cody's thought is by what hat he's going to wear on our review come Sunday. If he changes it, we know he's given up on this season and focused on 26. But anyway, we shall see what happens over the course of this weekend. I think this could be a banger race. It usually lends itself, if there is some sort of a safety car or something that bunches the field back up, the thing could get crazy. There's definitely potential for drama. I do just think this is a track that lends itself. It brings a lot more cars into contention. And we're going to have, hopefully not as crazy of, we were joking about this earlier, like, please, dear God, now let's not have track limit craziness. Just keep it on the black stuff long enough so that we at least know when the checkered flag falls, we should kind of know where everybody is. I really don't want to have 8 hours of refreshing the FIA website to make sure that nobody got a stupid 5-second penalty and changes our result.
Get a 5-second penalty, and you get a 5-second penalty.
So anyway, we will watch that. We'll watch for that. But anyway, so enjoy this weekend. Enjoy the weather now that summer has officially arrived, whether we want it or not. Stay cool out there if you're in a part of the U.S. that's under the heat dome. We're kind of on the edge of it, so we get like hot spells, and then it cools off, and then it gets hot again. So, we're all trying to figure out what we're doing here. But anyway, enjoy your F1 this weekend. We'll be back hopefully on Sunday to recap all of the action from the Austrian Grand Prix. So for Cody, it's been Andy. Take care of yourselves out there, and as always, may all your laps be fast.